Let's just jump right in, because today we're unpacking a structural shift in the corporate world that honestly should have every single leader paying very close attention. We're talking about the 18-month CEO and survival in the age of activism. You see, the lifespan of the modern chief executive is shrinking fast. If you're a leader right now, your runway is shorter, it's way more public, and it is entirely tied to investor patience, which is running pretty thin these days. So let's look at the actual data to see just how urgent this has become.
Look at this single staggering number, 77. In just the very first quarter of 2026, 77 brand new CEOs were appointed across major global indices. We're talking the S&P 500, the FTSE 100, the DAX 40. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that's the highest first quarter total analysts have seen in at least 8 years. It is a massive, massive spike. And it tells us that a fundamental reshuffling of leadership is literally happening right now. And by the way, that first quarter of 2026, it wasn't just some random blip. This follows an absolutely record-breaking 234 CEO departures globally in 2025. That is up 16% from the previous year, and it's a full 21% above the 8-year average. So we're looking at the second consecutive record-breaking year for CEO exits. You can practically feel the tension in the boardroom, right? The numbers clearly show this huge, growing wave of leadership turnover. Which brings us to the absolutely crucial question, is the CEO clock ticking faster? Well, unequivocally, yes. Just think about the headlines from early 2026. In just a matter of weeks, major household names, Workday, PayPal, The Washington Post, they all completely changed their chief executives. We're seeing incredibly rapid leadership shifts across totally different sectors. So it really begs the question, what's actually forcing their hands here?
Section 1. The CEO turnover wave, planned versus forced. Right now, analysts are describing this environment as having the highest turnover rate in roughly 25 years. But to really grasp why, we have to look at the nature of these departures. On one hand, sure, you have clean, planned successions executed from a position of absolute strength. Think about Tim Cook eventually handing the reins over at Apple, or Doug McMillon leaving Walmart after more than a decade of really steady leadership. Those are your long runway transitions. But on the flip side, we have this growing wave of activist forced exits. Honestly, the total departure count doesn't matter nearly as much as the growing share of CEOs who are leaving specifically because an activist investor showed up, applied pressure, and the board just decided not to fight it. There is some absolutely fascinating data from Barclays that maps out a really clear accelerating trend. It tracks CEOs resigning within just one single year of an activist campaign launching against their company. Okay, in 2023, there were 24 of these exits. In 2024, it climbed to 27. And in 2025, it hit a record 32. This pattern is accelerating. It's definitely not stabilizing. The second an activist enters the fray, the CEO's clock speeds up exponentially. And please, do not think this is just some American corporate phenomenon. Japan recorded 56 activist campaigns in 2025 alone. That's roughly half of all activist activity outside the United States. So yeah, this is a rapidly spreading global phenomenon. No matter where a company is headquartered, this activist playbook is being deployed with incredible frequency. Section 2. Forces driving the acceleration. Why now? So activists actually launched 141 campaigns against S&P 500 companies in 2025 alone. That's a 23% jump. Why is this happening right now? Well, it's driven by 4 compounding structural forces that have essentially shifted the balance of power squarely into their hands. First, cheap capital and active deal markets. That gives activists the financial leverage to credibly threaten a proxy fight. Second, new rules around universal proxy cards. Third, impatient board psychology. Basically, investors are just no longer willing to wait multiple quarters for a turnaround. And fourth, massive macro volatility. Things like shifting tariffs to geopolitical tensions. They totally strip away a CEO's cushion for having even one bad quarter. Let's actually zoom in on that second point about universal proxy cards, because this stat is just wild. Activists won 41 out of 45 contested board seats through negotiated settlements in just the first quarter of 2026. How? Because universal proxy cards now let shareholders mix and match candidates on a single ballot. So vote outcomes have become incredibly unpredictable. Facing all that uncertainty, boards are just throwing their hands up and choosing to settle with activists rather than risking a messy, highly public vote that they might actually lose. Because of that very threat, boards have learned a harsh lesson. Waiting is the riskiest move you can make. Look at these preemptive exits we've seen: Boeing, Nike, Stellantis, Hertz. In these cases, the CEOs departed before an activist campaign even fully materialized. Basically, boards are so terrified of a shareholder revolt, they're reading the warning signs early and removing CEOs preemptively just to prove to investors, hey, we're already taking decisive action.
Section 3, the public succession trap, anatomy of a crisis. Okay, so this is exactly what happens when succession planning is treated as some dusty contingency binder sitting on a shelf rather than a dynamic, ongoing discipline. Just walk through this timeline with me for a second. Day 1, an activist builds a meaningful stake. By week 2, they are launching public criticism of the CEO and zeroing in on the lack of a succession plan. By month 1, it's totally exposed that the board has zero bench of candidates. So month 2 just turns into this public emergency search under a massive media spotlight, with the activists second-guessing every single move. And by month 3, you've got massive stock volatility. Because the board lacked a solid plan, the activist effectively ends up writing that succession plan in public, completely on their own timeline. It's a total mess. Section 4, the boardroom survival playbook, 5 defensive moves.
So how do we fix this? Here is the highly practical strategy derived directly from the data to empower leadership teams to extend their runway long before an activist letter ever arrives. Move 1, standing succession. Make it a fixed annual boardroom discussion with named candidates. Move 2, diagnose first. Move 3, build investor relationships way outside of proxy season so you know your vulnerabilities early. Move 4, CEO self-audit. And finally, move 5, control the timing. If change is inevitably coming, do it before you're forced to publicly. Let's actually deep dive into a couple of the most critical steps here, because they're game changers. For step 2, diagnose first. The absolutely crucial point is this. When an activist letter lands, a board must honestly assess the situation. Is the criticism pointing to true, deep-seated operational failures, or is it just temporary macro headwinds, like regulatory uncertainty or surprise tariffs? Boards that move too fast to placate an activist on short-term temporary issues, they might actually destabilize a fantastic CEO. But boards that move too slowly on real structural gaps, well, they're just handing the activist the exact ammunition they need to win the fight. And for any executives tuning into this explainer, step 4 is absolutely for you, the CEO self-audit. You can no longer just assume that strong quarterly numbers are going to buy you patience. You have to continuously audit and fully own your narrative. You must proactively separate your controllable operating performance from the broader macro factors whenever you present to the board. If you find yourself only explaining the difference defensively after an activist has already framed the narrative, honestly, you've already lost the room.
It all comes down to this core thesis. The cost of being unprepared has gone up sharply. CEO tenure isn't shrinking because boards are suddenly reckless. It's shrinking because the penalty for lacking a proactive defense is immediate, it is severe, and the tools investors use to force the issue have just gotten incredibly fast. The teams that survive all this, they are the ones who put in the prep work long before the activist ever knocks on the door. Which leaves us with this final, rather provocative thought to chew on. What actually happens when a board gets it all wrong in public? I mean, how messy can it really get? Well, that is exactly what we're going to explore in our next explainer. We'll be doing a deep dive case study into Harley-Davidson's very public, very intense boardroom succession fight. You definitely won't want to miss seeing all these concepts in action. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.